Hello everybody, I am Illegal Toast, and this will be my journey to master Sifu. So, I've played this game for about 44 hours already, and I wanted to attempt master mode, because I got pretty good at the disciple difficulty. So this is going to be my journey to master Sifu. To get started for this video, I'll be going over some tips that I've picked up from my gameplay so far. I know I only have a limited amount of hours. I've got a little bit over 50, but the tips that I figured out from repetition already is immense. In games like this, attack pattern means a lot, because if you know what your opponent is doing, you have time to react. First things first, your structure bar. You have a structure bar, your enemies have a structure bar. It's that little yellow bar that fills up. If you click the block button, yes, this game obviously has a block button. If you click it just as the enemy lands an attack, it's called a parry. A lot of games have a parry mechanic, however, if you block just as they attack, it parries it and does not deal damage to your structure bar. If you just block the attack, it will add to your structure bar. Your structure bar just goes away when you're not fighting or you avoid or block. You can dodge instead of parry. However, if you parry, it will deal structure to the enemy structure bar, because obviously they weren't expecting you to stop their attack instead of just move out of the way. It just represents your defensive posture. However, if the enemy uses a hard-hitting attack or what the game calls a guard break, it will still do damage to your structure bar even if you perfect parry it. But the loophole for this is that your structure bar won't break as long as you continue to perfectly parry the enemy, which is convenient, but it does make for a stressful situation whenever you're sitting there and you notice your structure bar is at the very top and you're just hoping you hit every parry perfectly. Now, obviously, just like any other game that gives you a challenge, this game has different enemy types. Different movesets, so that kind of leads to short-term memory loss, and then when you fight an enemy and they kick sweep you instead of punching you, you get hit. These guys right here, like the guy I'm fighting right now, are juggernauts. They're just big guys, they're pretty huge, kind of obvious, they kind of stand out, you know. It's like if Queso just decided to be an MMA fighter. And they tend to like to go for grapples and grabs, like you can see, because who doesn't like a good hug? They punch like a freight train. So, you know, they're better off dodging than parrying. You can parry them, you can also parry their guard breaks. They just hit like a train, which leads to not fun situations if you get hit or you miss your parry. So, you want to be careful with these guys, but let's get in some of the other enemy types in here. Now, before I get into elite enemies and mini bosses, there are enemies that I like to call Super Saiyan. So whenever you break an enemy's structure bar, you get the prompt to do a finisher before you have their health bar all the way down, which is just a quick way to get rid of them if you don't want to do all of their health's worth of damage to them, which is great. However, every enemy that you finisher, there's an extra chance that later on in the game, one of the enemies that you try to do a finisher on will resist the finisher, again, what I like to call Super Saiyan, and instead of finishing them off, they will get a second health bar and a structure bar all the way filled to the max, just like what's happening here, and they gain a new moveset. So half of that guy's kicks were guard breaks, which are really strong, and he hits fast. These guys can be really annoying. So the best way to avoid it, from what I've seen, is to not do finishers. You just do all of the enemy's health. However, let's be real, it looks kind of cool and stylish whenever you do a finisher move, so you gotta get some of those in there too. Now, the guys you're about to see me fight in this room right here are elite enemies. Their health bar is just bigger and their structure bar is bigger. They're harder to break. There are some elite enemies where their health bar is a little smaller and their structure bar is a little smaller, but they recuperate a lot quicker. As you can see, I just absolutely slammed these guys out. These guys aren't very strong elites, but their movesets typically also consist of grapples and kicks, whereas a normal basic enemy won't grapple or kick you necessarily. Some enemies do have kick movesets. However, your standard enemy does not. The next thing I'd like to get into is catching an enemy by surprise, which is kind of a basic concept, but for example, certain monologues like this, you throw that at him, he doesn't expect it because it's a monologue cutscene, catches him off guard and it gives you an automatic finisher. The game doesn't really have a stealth mechanic, but again, if you catch an enemy off guard, it will give you an automatic finisher. So I figured it would be a good idea to kind of go over my thought process while I was fighting just this first boss. He's not a difficult boss necessarily, in my opinion. He's the first boss, so you learn how to counter him pretty early on in the game. However, I guess it's different for everybody. I was looking in the Steam achievements as a nerd would do, and surprisingly, I think only about, I think the statistics were 50% of people even beat this guy. So I don't know what the other 50% of people are doing with this game, but they're clearly not grinding it. Now, this guy will always start strong with a kick in. He does that a lot. I've noticed that if you gain distance on him, he will jump in from a distance and do that kick. It's pretty easy to dodge. You just time right before it's going to land on you and you just dodge it backwards. This guy is quick and he tends to guard break kick quite a bit. And some of his lower punches are guard breaks as well, just in this first phase. I did go in with a weapon, so my structure damage was a little higher than usual, which is nice. It's kind of what you want. I've noticed anytime he kind of backs up like that, he typically goes in for a low kick. Kind of want to keep an eye out for that. I have a hard time playing consistently, and I think this was one of my first couple attempts at even getting to the boss without dying. Granted, just so everybody knows, I've beat Disciple mode, I think three times now without dying. One of them I did the second ending where you spare them, so you break their structure bar twice in their second phase, and the second time you break it, it gives you the option to spare them. However, in this run, I'm just simply running through as proof that I can beat all of these bosses in Disciple mode without dying. My main goal for playing Master Difficulty is not necessarily no deaths, but to figure out what the differences are between Master Difficulty and Disciple, because there's really not a lot of videos on like main differences, and some of the videos that there are out there for this game I've noticed are somewhat low quality, just like my videos. So I figured I would just go ahead and go over this series and just kind of dive as deep as I can into the world of Sifu, which is my whole thought process for even making these videos. I'm just hoping that they're helpful and maybe somebody gets some entertainment out of watching me die like a gazillion times, because I'm sure that's going to happen in Master Mode. Going back to this boss though, second phase, just to throw in there a little quick tip too, he is wielding a machete. That is pretty obvious. Anybody that has a blade, even if you block or get like a perfect parry, some of the perfect parry moves will parry the slash damage. However, if you block him and he's attacking with the machete, his attack is just going to go straight through and slash through your parry, which is not fun unless you're holding a weapon, so barehanded fighting is a little bit difficult in this game. That was me beating the first boss. I'm going to flash through the proof of me beating the other 4 bosses. That's including the final boss. There is 5 bosses in this game. Just so you guys know that I'm legitimate when I say that I've beaten all of these bosses without dying. Now, this is the second boss, Sean. I figured I would give a little bit of an extra long video on this guy, because a lot of people seem to have trouble with him, but if you watch how I fight him, his moves hit like a truck because he's using a bow staff. But if you notice, at least comparatively to the other boss, he swings relatively slow, and as you can see my structure bar, you can just sit there and parry him for half the fight, and it does a ton of structure damage. I never found him very hard, a lot of people do. Just gotta get used to the attack strategies with these guys. He's not the worst. Trust me when I say that. It's the third boss that kills me. Now granted, for being no deaths on most of these fights, I did cut it extremely close to dying. However, I still went on the record it's no deaths, as you can see in the top left on all of these clips that I'm about to pop up. It says age 20. I've ran through the whole game multiple times already, and I've gotten the second ending. This guy really isn't that hard. Again, it's just a matter of parrying at the proper time, and then throwing in, again, like I throw in my focus bar, get in a good combo on him, throw him down. It does really good structure. Avoid when my structure's too high, and you're honestly safe to go. The only one that it doesn't really play for is the final boss, Yang. Here's Kuroki, as you can see, age 20 at the top left, as well as Jen Feng, age 20. And finally, as well as Yang. I will say Yang is one of the few boss fights where a lot of the rules don't really apply. He has your same skill set, you just gotta be as quick as him. Anyways, I hope this video gives my motives for my future videos, and I hope you guys stick around to see me fail at master difficulty. I will see you in the next video.
Me pergunto quando vamos nos ver.